families or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here at 444 Spirit Way. Oh, turn!
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time.
The James and Kellee Show.
Great, let's start the show.
Hey, Kellee! How are you?
Jeez.
I'm here with three of my guides right over here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, let's introduce everybody. Should we introduce everybody?
Yes. Dana, you want to tell everyone your name and what you do and how we met?
Okay. I am Dana Crochier. I met James in Sedona, Arizona at the Illuminate Film Festival. And I'm a film producer, and we created a film called Love Heals. And
they've been on the show before.
Yes, on our show. It's a great film if you haven't seen it.
Incredible. Won awards.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kellee. I'm Chrisanna Sexton, and I'm a director, and we work together. So it's really wonderful. And we just adore James. So we're happy to be here.
And then this new one over
You're
there.
filming a movie. Hi.
Hi, I'm Kellee, and I have a marketing company, and I just recently met James in person. I've known of him because I used to work for Hay House, so I have the opportunity to work with him again, which is great.
And we're developing the mediumship. We're filming the mediumship, the meditation course.
Yes.
And
It's going to be so great. What a great course.
The whole studio here, my office. So the ladies will be joining me or not joining me, whatever they're going. So we just want to sit. I invited them to sit in. And
Great. So great to have you guys.
Oh, thank you. Great to be here.
so what's happening with you, Kellee White?
Oh, well. Oh, I have something good. I had some really great news. I signed my contract with my editor, Linda,
Congratulations.
for my book. So I'm
Congratulations.
so excited.
She's the
Thank
best.
you, Linda. Thank you.
Linda, you know Linda Thompson? Hired Reed Tracy for Hay House. Yes.
Very cool.
She helped me. She's great. Good.
Yeah,
So congratulations, Kellee.
Thank
Wow.
you. Thank you
very
very
happy.
much.
Very, very happy.
Wow. There's a lot going on astrologically, a lot of
What's happening
change.
astrologically?
Okay, so let's just talk about this. It's been this is an unbelievable week, you guys. But first I want to get to Lisa Marie Presley because I thought that was so important. Her passing was really important. I mean, it was very sad, but I had a lot of thoughts on her passing. My first thought that I wanted to say is that she was born on February 1st. And February 1st is a Jack of Spades day. Now, when I do the Destiny system, I talk a lot about, different birth dates mean something. And a Jack of Spades is the spiritual initiate. It's a very hard placement. There are only 2 days. So if you were born on January 3rd or February 1st, you'd be a Jack of Spades. Really hard life, actually. And you have to overcome everything. But what I thought was really interesting is that she passed on January 12th, and that was an 11 day. And so 11s that's the day that you have insights and higher purposes. So I thought that was interesting. But on that very day, James, there was a rare green comet that in the sky, green comet in the sky that had not been seen for 50,000 years.
Wow.
And wouldn't you say that green, it represents the heart and the heart chakra, and I would think because this year is all about spirituality, I would think it would be opening the hearts for everybody, frankly. Wow. But also on that very day that she passed, Mars was actually stationing to turn. It was stationed, it was still. And all of that, I felt that led to her passing. That was such a hard aspected day.
And do you think it was a natural passing, or do you think it was?
Well, I think it was a broken heart. I think it was a broken heart.
Completed suicide.
Her son completed suicide 2 years ago, but what I really found amazing was that 2 years ago, she met David Kessler from grief.com. Now, David, you've known David for many, many years. And she was working actually, James, with David and on helping mothers who have been with children who've lost during suicide. She was helping in groups. She was working with David. And then only 5 days before she passed, it was her father, Elvis Presley's birthday. And she invited David Kessler to go to Graceland. He goes to Graceland and he's holding her up and he's walking around the property with her. And then 2 or 3 days later, she died. I mean, David has had a lot of loss himself because his own son completed suicide 3 years ago, and that grief had brought them together. I thought that was kind of fascinating.
Well, you have to meet them. That and his partner, really good, great people.
Yeah, really good people.
You know, Kellee, it goes back to that same thing, which we only see a small part, a percent of the bigger picture. There's such a bigger picture to it.
Right.
We get those glimpses, and as we see these things.
Oh my gosh. It was just, but this is a really big week because tomorrow of all days, Saturn finally changes and leaves Capricorn and goes into Aquarius for 2.5 years. This is enormous because when 2.5 years ago, when it went into Capricorn, it brought COVID with it. So now we're talking about spirituality, new age technology, healing, especially healing of the heart. Healing's going to be huge for the next 2.5 years. So tomorrow, it's a big, significant day tomorrow. And then a couple of days from then, Mercury finally goes direct.
Who knows the difference anymore?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you what, this time it'll be full speed ahead. I mean, everything that you're working on, there's going to be, it's going to help with projects that you've had stalled maybe, or just, as you said the other day, which I love, James, and I've been quoting, clunky energy.
Energy. That's what it felt like.
It's totally true. Well, now it's going to go full speed ahead. But I do want to mention this on the 18th. This is the one kind of a clunker in the whole bunch.
Thursday, right?
On Thursday, yeah. The sun conjuncts Pluto, and it's in Capricorn. And when this happens, this is about the sun highlights power, and Pluto's this hidden kind of aspect. And conjunct means that that's the same degree, which makes it give more power to it. And so I think that politically, we're going to see some changes or big things.
Secrets will be revealed.
Secrets will be revealed. Yeah, Pluto. And Pluto means transformation. So again, this month brings a lot of stuff. It's a powerful time.
Wow.
So,
hi, Mary. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Miss. And Margaret, thank you. Talking about Lisa, thank you. Sorry, there's so much going on here.
There's so much going on here. I know. And I know we're going to be talking about spirit guides. My favorite topic. What about you?
Well, you know, it's very interesting because a lot of people from my website, my Facebook page, and so forth, want to know about guides. And in my soul care, they talk about guides. And first of all, yes, we all have guides. People ask, is there a certain amount of guides? Not necessarily. And there are certain guides that are assigned to you, or you work with. I believe. Kellee, I'm not sure what you believe here with this, but before we come back to this lifetime, we sit with our guides and we go through our plan, our curriculum, upcoming curriculum, what lessons we have to learn, what our karmic obligations are, and there are certain assignments of guides to us depending on what our life plan will be. And let's say, want to be a painter? Well, you'll have a guide that influences you with painting and bringing out those innate gifts within you come out to the surface, and they help you. When I was a medium, when I studied the medium, I had a medium and a doctor from the other side, a chemist, actually working with my energetic body to be able to open up to spirit. And we have many guides, and they change over the years. As we develop, they develop. We get new guides for new things. There are some that last a lifetime. There's some who've had many lifetimes. Many people who pass over, or your friends or family, become a guide of yours sometimes. My mother became my guide when she passed because she said she didn't feel she did enough for me in the physical world, so she can now do something in the spiritual world.
So does that mean that if you have a parent that has not been very good for whatever reason, they could actually come back and, I don't want to say to make it up to you, but kind of karmically help you?
She felt that she wanted to do more for me, that the potential was there, but she didn't use it because she had her own stuff going on in the lifetime. So she did it from the other side. And I know now she's finished with that. She feels the obligation is done and she can move on to other things. But yes, we many times have that. So and also you have, I call them opportunity guides. I wrote a book called Wisdom from You Guys. Everyone knows. We have it. You have it. Yes.
Oh, you bet. Love this book.
It's a good book. It's a basic book about guides and different types of guides. And one thing I want to say is when you enter into a project, let's say making a film, filmmakers here, right? And creating something new, a painting or writing a book or music, you will draw to you a new individual or individuals too who are experts in those fields to work with you on that particular project. So when I wrote the book Growing Up in Heaven, I walked into my office when I lived up in Laguna Beach, and there were children, spirit children, all around my desk. And I'm like, what are you doing here? What are you doing? And I saw them very clearly. They made me see them. And they said, we're going to help you with your next book. I'm like, huh? What does that mean? Because they said, you're going to write a book about us. I'm like, what does that mean? And it really is a book about children that have passed over and what they're doing on the other side and how they evolve and so forth. And that's what that book was about. So you do draw to you those specialists, let's say, if you work on something particular. That's a certain type of guide, many different types of guides.
And tell us about inspiration guides.
So inspirational guides. So inspiration means inspired. So it could be exactly the same thing. So they're inspiring you. So if you're writing, creating something, they will help you to follow through with that. They'll inspire you. Or philosophy guides. Philosophy guides come from the higher realms. And this is interesting to note also. So if you have, let's say, a philosophy guide who comes with beautiful philosophy, as White Eagle was presented through Grace Cook, the medium Grace Cook, and White Eagle's incredible wisdom comes through. So that philosophical guide will be on that level with her, but there's a guide for White Eagle on the other side as well, on another higher level, and then a higher level. And it's like a stairway going down. That inspires that inspirer, brings that inspirer. So the truth comes down that way. So that the denser vibrations, you see. And it's our job as mediums, I believe, to be able to open up and reach those higher levels as best as we can try to love through doing kindness and compassion and teaching it and living it and reaching those high and always trying to reach the higher levels of compassion and love. Always attempting.
Well, I love that you talk about that our guides are here to teach us certain things and they have lessons. And I love this one, never judge another.
Never judge another. Never judge another, because you never know what their background is. You don't know what they've been through. And it's interesting enough that I've heard that guides, of course, they're doing their work like we're doing our work down here. They're also doing their work. So when they're finished with our project of working with us, they move on to another project or another mission they have to. And I wouldn't always say that guides are better than we are, because they're not necessarily. They're in a position to help you to be the best you can be. And we could just say that.
Absolutely.
An interesting thing too, which I found in my readings, is so fast. I'm sure you have too, Kellee. So amazing. I have one story I'm going to say in a second, but that there were some guides, very interesting, that I've done a lot of, as you have, kids that have passed over with overdoses, drug addicts, whatever, or fentanyl problems and all that. And I remember the person who came back, it was a gal or a guy, and 20-something-year-old, and they said, well, I'm working in Mother Earth. What are they doing over there? I said, well, they've been there 3 years. They're guiding another person who has this addiction problem on Earth, and they're trying to inspire them to move beyond that.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing. So
yeah. Oh my gosh. I had a really interesting experience with my spirit guides, and I've shared this story before. But I read your book, Talking to Heaven, in 1997, and you say in the book, if you want to talk to your guides, talk to them every day and ask them, to show themselves to you or ask them.
Night, just say, please, I would like to see a guide. It might not have to be that night, but during the course of months, it might.
Well, in my case, and I was a busy, professional, and the last thing I would have thought is that I would see my guides, but I actually every day said, guides, before I went to bed, I want to see you. I want to see you, guides. I want to talk to you, guides. I want to see you, guides. And 3 years later, while I was in Tahiti on a small island with no electricity, my guides physically showed up. And I drew a picture of them because it threw me like you can't imagine. So be careful what you ask for. But my first, be careful, because I have an Indian man from India, and what I call her a Jamaican woman, and they showed up. And I've only seen them 2 times after this, but I saw them in dream states after this, but they came in, and I've been with them for a very long time. They told me.
I have a couple of guide stories. I might have told this over the years, but I still find them fascinating. One goes back in the 80s, and a guy I was dating at the time, but we'd broken up, but he had AIDS when AIDS was first around. He got AIDS, and he didn't believe in life after that. He was a true Taurus boy. He just didn't believe in it. And I did readings for him, and I went for a medium, my teacher, and I said, no, Michael, there's more to it than this. There is. He goes, and he was very pragmatic. So anyway, he passed over, and I lived in Hollywood. He lived in Culver City, and it was a Sunday morning. And I remember that was the day of his memorial at his house in Culver City. And I'll never forget it. It was at that twilight state. We're just about to wake up. And a woman comes to me, and it was a guy, and right away it was a guy. And she's a flowing dress. It was this African lady, Africanese. And she said, and this right to me, telepathically, you need to tell him, he needs to hear it from someone he believes, he knows. And I said, oh. And she left, and Michael was there, and he said, am I dead? And I said, yes, you are. He goes, wow, because I said, well, where do you find yourself? And he said, I'm in a closet. I said, well, no, you've passed over, Michael, and I'll be at memorial service. So that afternoon, I went to the memorial service, and his brother had it at the house. And I said to his brother, where did you put his remains, his ashes? And he said, I didn't know what to do with them, so I put them in the shelf in the closet.
Oh, he was in the closet.
Wild story.
Oh,
wild. Right? So the guide helped him. And now another really interesting story. I just talked about this a week ago because I still find it fascinating. You guys will love this one. I did Kellee, you know this. I was in Thousand Oaks. I did a demonstration at a church there, or a spiritual space there. And I remember this young man came through for his mom and dad, and he died of a car accident. And I remember that he really wanted to play the guitar. He said to Mom, I always wanted to take lessons. You know that? And she goes, yes, he wanted to take guitar lessons. And he was ready to do that. He was going to get a scholarship. And he came through and said, I'm doing that. And then, so that was fine. And then the next reading or message came from a man on the other side of the room. He said, there's a man here. He plays guitar and he does jingles. And he said, he's written many, I talked about this recently.
No, I was there.
Yeah, you were there. And it was Harry Nilsson.
No, Dawn was there. We both went, oh my God. It's a big deal. Yeah.
Harry Nilsson was there. So then we found out that he said, I'm his guide. Harry Nilsson was this boy's guide to learn how to play the guitar. That's what he was there for. They came together. Get this one. Then you think like, what? Well, that wasn't it. If you remember.
Oh, I remember.
And they're doing a book signing at the end. And the lady comes up and she said, well, that was really something about Harry Nilsson. You know, I was a 911 operator that got the call of his heart attack. I was like, what?
That was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, but that's how they orchestrate things.
Yeah, it's very true. They're very involved in our lives. I mean, they're so guiding us.
Mm-hmm.
They're so guiding us all the time. And we just got to remember to step out of the way and just be open. And things happen in weird, strange ways. And like the more you try to control things and hold on tight, the harder it is for them to get through. And the harder it is to be inspired because we're closing down that vessel, that channel.
Well, but we were asked, what's the difference, James, between a guide and an angel?
Well, that's very interesting. This is people might find this amazing, but I don't know if I totally believe in angels. There you go.
I do very much.
You do.
Very much.
I don't know. I think that angels might be in a different realm altogether. Okay, I'll put it that way. I think that might be maybe more evolved. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm a double earth sign. Come on.
I know.
So part of me is like, well, I've heard from other days in the past days of angels that really what had happened was someone had a vision of someone, and there was so much light behind them, they thought they had wings.
Oh, interesting.
And it was the aura.
Yeah.
And I believe. I don't know if I believe that angels with wings and flying and harps. I don't believe in that. I just don't. I do believe they're inspired beings, very evolved beings. We can call them angels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm doing a show right now about angels, so I understand. And I know. What can I say? I don't know what to say.
Well, I always say this when I get asked that question. I always say that
we don't have to agree on everything either. Kellee.
No, absolutely
That's why
not.
we do this, because we have to.
Absolutely, but guides, from what I understand, from my experience, most guides have been on Earth before. They've had at least one lifetime here, so they understand the pitfalls of Earth and how difficult it is and how challenging it is.
Yes.
Where angels, I don't think that they haven't had physical lives here. They kind of come in and swoop out.
Yeah, but they're also guides that have never been on the Earth. They're also
that's true. The higher beings, for sure.
The higher realms. So those
for sure.
I guess the labels don't really matter, right? It's more the work that matters and how they help us and assist us. So if with your angels, I always have, and this is just me generally speaking, and I always have a hard time, as I've done this work for many years, getting into, and my points of view have changed over the years,
I know.
totally. But when people place human traits onto things that aren't human, like, I need the name of my guide. I need the name of my guide. Well, it's more energetic. When you feel a certain energy, like if you tune yourself to an energy, you feel them. And later at the end, we'll do a little exercise with us. And you'd feel the difference in the energy. That's more the different frequencies is how I would really respond to their identification. I mean,
It's funny you said that because I never really got a name from my guides ever.
they
Never did. It really is not important.
give you feelings. It's not important. It's important for the human for the conceptualize it, but it's not for them. It's more energetic, and it's more important what they help you, assist you with, and how they merge with who you are. They're part of us, and that I think they bring out those aspects of themselves, maybe that they've perfected, if we can, or evolved with, that they try to help us to evolve those other similar aspects.
Yeah.
And they're always guiding us. I mean, we're always looked after. We never walk alone.
No.
We never walk alone, and
It's not possible.
It's not possible. And it's so interesting because there's so many realms around us and levels and dimensions all around us as we sit here. It's all around us, and they're always around helping us.
So people are asking, what's the best process to connect to your guides?
You read the book Wisdom from Your Guides.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Understanding your guides. So, so there are many different ways, and I have a class on it in my school as well with your guides. But to me, again, I'm a real proponent, and this is my meditation course we're filming today, about sitting in the quiet, sitting in the silence, the stillness, and really becoming aware of that space. And with that space, you become aware, and again, with this exercise later, a little bit of this, where you become so aware of that surrounding, and that you ask a guide to come to you, and you become aware of the energy. So we'll do it later. It's a way of doing it, but that's one way. Another way you can do it, which is really lovely, I like to put myself in an alternate state of consciousness. So whether it's doing a breathing exercise, bringing up and relaxing and just surrendering. And then another way is you can have a pad and a pen and ask an inspirational guide to give you a message and automatic writing. I've done this in workshops and it's amazing what comes through. I was once thinking of doing a whole book of just the messages that people have gotten in workshops. Do it that way. That's a good way of doing it.
That's a great way to do it.
Yeah, it's a great way of doing it. You do it before bed or just when you wake up, be also another great time to do that. So have it all prepared when you go to sleep at night, have it next to your bed. When you wake up, the first thing you do is you reach for the pen and the pad and you ask them to come in and give you a message for the day. And that's when you could do that. You could also do this. I'm going to give you something. Oh, thank you. My guy just gave me something. This is what happens to me. I get crazy. Ladies, you know. I think that I've done something like this last time. What I would do is circles. So, right? So I put JDP, right? And then I'm going to do a line on top, on the bottom, here, just 4 right now. I'm going to put circles around them. There's no sacred way of doing this. Just making this stuff up. They give me this. Okay. There are 4 circles. And then in the morning, did I freeze? No.
There you are.
All right. So then 4 circles. And then in the morning, what you're going to do is ask them, who are you? And let them fill in the circles, the different guides. And then see an inspirer, a healer and guide, and see what they do and do it that way.
Oh, God, I love that.
Isn't that great? That works. That does work.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting too. I mean, one of the things that I learned along the way here is, I'll never forget, my husband asked me years ago, he said, what's the name of my guide? And I said, I don't know. Why don't you ask him? So he went to bed and he wakes up about 6 in the morning. And he said, oh my God, he told me his name. And I said, what's his name? He said, Nathan. And he's a Native American and he's huge. He told me his name. So I said, Nathan? He said, yeah. Well, the weirdest thing happened after that. About a week later, our friend Sue, remember our friend Sue?
How can I forget Sue?
She was having a Reiki session. And she said, out of the blue, she called me and she said, oh, I had the wildest day today. I said, how'd it go? She said, well, I had a Reiki session and my guide came through. And guess what, Kelly? He's a big Native American and his name is Nathan. I said, are you effing kidding me? How's that possible? So I said that to Don. Don goes, I don't want to share my guide, but the thing is, but guides can work with other people, right?
Oh, of course.
It may not just be one guide, or it might be other people.
It's like a teacher,
right?
Many students, same thing.
And maybe is it possible, James, that a guide could watch over a group of people?
A soul group.
A soul group.
Soul group. You betcha.
So, do you think families have guides?
I think families have guides. I think friends have guides. I think our soul group that we live with, we have our guides of that soul group. No doubt about it. And we have individual guides for us as well.
Right.
Guides, soul group guides. We do.
Well, then let me ask you this: if we have individual guides and then we have our family guides, and the family members are not getting along, do you think that they somehow influence us to maybe make amends or say I'm sorry? Or
100%. Oh, I've done in readings. I've had them come through and talk about that. I've been trying to get through, and I'm sorry I did this, and I'm trying to make you the family connect again. So sorry I left the family a mess. I shouldn't have done this. I'm trying to connect you all. And I've done it right here on Zoom calls when I've done readings where they said, you know, your mother said you're not talking to your sister, and no, I'm not. She wants you to write a card to her. And she said, please heal it. She said, one of the most important things to do while you're on this earth is to forgive. Is to forgive and see the bigger picture, because it's a much bigger picture. And
so that's a lesson that the guides are trying to teach us.
Very much so. Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's a question. Vicki Nason asks, I don't understand the whole we planned our life ahead of time or our destination. I just don't get it. Why would anybody say we've done a show on that? We have. She says, why would anyone say yes to a life of despair, grief, and heartache? And she goes into her husband passed away.
Go ahead, Kelly. You answer that first.
Well, I mean, I think that you're a very old soul, Vicki. I think you're a very old soul, a soul that is learning something really important, because I think grief is part of life, and you'll probably help many people who've lost spouses. And I think it's your soul. This is a lifetime of growth, of big growth. So why would you say yes to it? On the other side, we meet with our guides, right, James? We meet with our guides. We meet with the elders. We decide, what do we want to do? What do we want to learn? And perhaps, Vicki, this lifetime was understanding grief and understanding despair and heartache. It could just be that.
Nadine, who's a lovely lady in Vienna, a friend of mine, and she's can tell you because she's been through a lot, very similar loss. I'm going to answer it this way, that I believe there's a cloak with a curtain or something, and we don't see the whole picture. And I think that we pass out of this physical realm, and we're very relieved as soon as we leave this meat suit, that there is no time. And we get over there, and like what human time of 60, 70, 80, 90 years is like that. And we're like, oh, wow. And you can grow so much by having certain lessons. And we see in human life can be some very difficult lessons, some difficult classes that we sign up for. We sign up sometimes for the advanced classes, okay?
Yeah.
And we know that the parents don't lose a lot of their family members or certain things happen. It's an advanced soul, as you said, Kelly, and they set up these advanced lessons. And it's funny, you get to the other side, it's like, wow, I get it now, because there's no death. And that was just a minute time. That 60, 70, 80, 90 years in the human time is nothing compared to everything. There is no time over there. Time is not relevant here. So there are hard lessons, but it's also the human condition. It's part of the human condition, and having these obstacles and these issues and these road bumps, and it's how we grow. If everything was perfect, we'd have a real boring time down here.
Right.
Real boring time. And we wouldn't make any difference. And the thing we should remember too, which I keep on harping on this, but I will continue harping on it because it comes in so strong always, is that we're all connected as one, and that we have to help others go through these conditions. And we shouldn't feel that we're suffering, because we don't want to give that the energy, because you don't want to go there, because then you repeat those patterns of suffering over and over and over again.
Right.
What was that term that we?
Loyalty to suffering.
Loyalty to suffering. Jack does that.
I love that.
Have that stop of loyalty to suffering. Is that Kelly, I'm going to send you the principles of forgiveness from Jack Cornfield. I'm going to send that to you,
please,
the other day, and that was one of them. Loyalty. You have to give loyalty to suffering. There's a bigger picture to it, and so many of us there see the bigger picture. Yeah,
right, totally.
And I have an open heart. There was another open heart. Live with an open heart. Yeah. Or do the heart work. Yeah. Hard work, but it's hard work.
Yes, it sure is. It sure is. Oh, so here's a question. Can our animals be our guides?
100%. I believe so. I know my Maisie certainly has been. I know Maisie, my dog, was here. Now I have Pearl, which isn't listening. And she helped me get Pearl. And Maisie, I had put Maisie down, and she came right to me afterwards, and it was a wreck, and she was calming me down, and she was with me all the time for 2 weeks. I was seeing her, and then in a weird set of circumstances, she helped me get Pearl in a very strange way, but it worked out. And I know that the animals, I mean, she was a guide to me here on Earth, and living, they can be guides. Like when she passed away, I thought I'd be a complete mess, and I was not. And the reason I was not was because I lived every single moment. She taught me to live in the moment. And I lived fully to that moment. So there was nothing to grieve because I she was with me, and I knew that moment. And Pearl, my puppy Pearl, is teaching me, excuse me, living for the moment, because you got to be very attentive to a puppy right away. Because 5 minutes later, your chicken breast is gone.
And didn't Maisie tell you ahead of time that this one was going to be a lot of energy?
Yes. So what happened was Maisie was gone. I didn't see her she was around me 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. I saw her very clearly around me in my office where she usually sat. And then I didn't see her. And I knew I was getting these puppies. And about a month later, I'm driving back from Palm Springs, just driving, looking at the scenery, and all of a sudden she comes to me. And she looked awful. She looked at me, just like this limping, like, wow. I said, "What happened to you?" And she said, "I've been working." The thought was working with getting the puppies there too then. And the most energetic Jehovah she could have. So at least she was trying to show me that you're going to be knocked out. She was right.
She was right. Oh my gosh. So here's a good question. Peggy Clancy Everham says, how do you heal a relationship with a narcissist? First of all, take my class. February 25th. We're going to be talking about how to survive one, basically. Thank you for putting that up.
I'll be on that, Kelly. I'll be up there with
you.
I
would love that. It would be great. That's with Dr. Shirley. We would love to have you on, because
Brian, we're going to a little longer, please. I'm going to make sure we get the date there.
We're going to be talking about traits of a narcissist, how you know that you're with one, and then really what to do, and how do you heal one. We'll be talking about that, Peggy, because basically you have to really usually walk away.
And Kelly is great. I'm telling you, she really has taught me about recognizing sociopaths and narcissists and levels of narcissism
and borderlines.
And I mean, I learned it from Kelly, and she knows it.
I have a PhD in it. No, not really, but I could.
Well-known therapist.
My mom was a really well-known psychologist.
I won't go any further with that, but she's very
yeah, exactly. But boy, I tell you, I learned everything I need to know about, in relationships that I've had. And Dr. Shirley and I and you, James, we'll be giving good examples and personal examples of narcissists.
And the most important thing, I think, is we talked about this last week too, how to recognize them.
Yeah. We will be doing that. So thanks for asking. So here we go. Okay, now Shannon Springs says, do all souls at passive suicide have to come back? It seems inhumane to ask a soul too much pain to stay.
Okay, so let me just answer it this way, Shannon. How do we know that soul didn't pick that way of leaving before they came back into the body?
So that's another lens. Yeah.
Another lens that there's a possibility that soul group had to learn about, what do you want to talk about? Compassion or forgiveness or whatever those lessons were. And the soul from that group said, okay, I'll take on the suicide and go early so you all can learn about compassion, forgiveness, or whatever. And that's a possibility. That is a possibility. That does happen. So not all suicides are negative, if you will. I do believe that cutting school early isn't good. But I also have learned, and this changed my mind completely from 1997 when I wrote Talking to Heaven, that there are some suicides that was the destiny of part of that soul group, that person would go that way and complete it. And that's, the body can't be hurt. No soul is ever harmed. Suicide, you don't go to hell. There's no such thing. There's no harm. The harm with that is sometimes, and it depends on the mindset of that soul who's going through that experience, because there can be those that are already evolved going through it, and there can be those who do it emotionally. There's an emotional upset and they go. And I have found that, and this is really interesting, when I did a reading for a lady, I mentioned about this before in the show, it was South Africa, and her son came through, and he showed me his death condition. He hung himself in the tree, and I'm like in a tree, and all of a sudden I'm coming out of the top of my head, the crown chakra, and the first thought he had was, "Oh my God, my mother's going to find me like this." And it seems that many of them, again, depending on the individual experience, are upset at the people that will find them. What have I done to those people? Because it could be very selfish in some respects. Then there are all different types of suicides. There are mental breakdowns, or it's so many facets to it.
Yeah.
One thing we could do down here is to send love to them when they pass over, because we don't know what their situation is, but love is the greatest healing force there is.
Yeah.
The filmmakers have made a movie, Love Heals. I mean, this is they're sitting right here.
Is your movie still available for people to watch?
I'm glad you asked, ladies.
Yes, we are actually currently in a virtual screening window, which is not that common. So if people do want to see Love Heals, they can watch it right now. This is our first free screening, so donations are welcome and suggested, but if you can't afford it, that is perfectly okay. We want to spread as much hope and healing as we can to people. So lovehealsfilm.com. We have the screening going now until Thursday. It was supposed to end last night,
but
we have
because of you guys, they kept it open.
We did. We want to make sure that we can spread more to your communities and help more people. So
I love the movie. I talked to everybody about it. I just loved it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I thought it was just terrific.
You're just hanging out this weekend with Anita Murjani.
Yeah.
And Greg Braden, my soul brother. And we're in good form here.
Wow, really good form. So Renee Hounsel has a question. Do our guides work with our higher self, and then does it filter down to our soul here? Great question.
Oh,
She's an advanced soul.
She's an advanced soul. She has a lovely question. I agree with that 100%. I totally agree with that. I know I told this story, I think today, someone about ayahuasca or yesterday, about how my higher self, and it was influencing me, the lower self, by when I took ayahuasca tea and said, this is your initiation. That was 20 years ago. And it was me with blue eyes and a mustache. Now it might have shown, and with a turban, and it might have just presented itself that way so I could know it was part of me, but I knew it was my higher self, and it was feeding to the lower self. And I do believe that. I believe our higher selves feed into the lower self. I do believe there are all different levels of that light coming down to the filters down, without a doubt. There's a Kellee, that wonderful show, that movie that we were talking about with Jonah Hill, with the
Stutz on Netflix.
Yes. Oh my God! So I said this to everybody. I said that Phil Stutz was so incredible as he's giving tools to Jonah, right? So he's talking, sharing this for him tools, and I said to myself, this guy is just so evolved in the way he presents the words. That was simple, because true wisdom is just simple and it's to the point. I said, he's getting this from spirit. He's channeling.
I thought the same thing, James.
And then we find out his brother died at age 3. I'm like, there's a guide. His brother is bringing us information.
So true. So true.
Yes.
Did you see that movie yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
Okay.
Oh, it might take you. You have to watch it in parts,
Yeah.
only because it's a lot to digest.
I took notes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really good, though. Really worth watching. So here's a question from Alyssa Watling. What do you guys recommend for working with the guides of my young children? My son has seen a man. I don't know if it's a loved one or a guide. How much can we get involved with our kids' journey? Well, get involved with them.
Yeah, I what I would say, and Looking Beyond is a book I wrote for parents for helping their children to open up. I would encourage them. So her son, right? We said her son.
Mm-hmm.
So she should work with her son. You should work with your son and ask him. Maybe write 10 questions down that he should ask his guide. How do they work with him? What is he learning? All different types of questions. Be curious. And kids do that. They're so open, and he'll get the information. He just will present it. There'll be no filters. He'll just come right through. It's pure. So that's a great way. And encourage them. Is what I gotta say. And other guides, they work with you too. Who's in the room with you? Who helps you with school? Being open, curious.
I do that all the time with my grandkids. I ask them all those questions.
Tell us a story about you mentioned.
It was unbelievable. When my grandson was 4, he was in bed with me, and we were snuggling, and he said, Gigi, he said, I want to talk to you about something. I said, all right. And I want to talk to you about something, August. I said, tell me about heaven. What's heaven like? And he, without missing a beat, and this is a kid that had no religious, nothing. He said, oh, Gigi, heaven, it's so magnificent. I paint in heaven. I said, you paint in heaven? And he said, oh, the colors, they're just beautiful. I love the colors in heaven. And Gigi, you know what? I said, in August, are you going to paint while you're here? And he said, no, I'm going to do something else. And I said, before I could say, what are you going to do? He said, you know what, Gigi? When you come here, they take away all your memories. I said, they do? Why do they take away your memories? He said, so we could create new memories.
Wow, that's great.
It was just flooring. It was just flooring. And then my granddaughter, who's 3, recently shared with us how with her mother, she said, I'm very sad. And Holiday said, my daughter said, well, why? Why are you sad? And she said, my father and my granddaughter died in the ocean. And I'm with a pastor right now, and the pastor is helping me. Now, that was shocking because, again, there's no religion. She wouldn't know the word pastor. She's 3, and that's not even in their consciousness. And this was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so the children will have those memories if they've had a lot of sorrow in a past life. I mean, it kind of comes through into the physical body. It can come through. So Holiday got it right away. She knew immediately what had happened. And she said, well, let's talk about that. It'll be okay. And just really tried to, and she was crying. Well, I wrote it all down. Yeah. And Holiday was holding her and she was, very sad. Isn't that fascinating, right?
Where did this happen?
Well, Holiday asked her and she didn't say, but she did say her granddaughter's name. She did tell her granddaughter's name. And it was an old-fashioned name. Yeah. Something amazing. Like that. Yeah.
Children's lives. It's just incredible. With past lives, it's interesting because I really believe in quantum physics, and I don't know enough about it here, but I do believe that past, present, future can be all one.
Yes, I agree with that completely.
We leave this curtain. I think that's part of it, and those lifetimes that are most traumatic or most moving. I think that's just stains the soul.
Yes, I agree, James. It does. Yeah. I mean, Earth is a hard school.
It's a hard school.
It's a hard one. We need our guides. So here's a question from Glenda Moore.
Let me just repeat something that I heard from Jack Corfield. It's a moral obligation to be joyful in life. A moral obligation.
Interesting.
Joy in life. When you live in a world of chaos and upset, you have a moral obligation to bring joy to that world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I like that. Yeah. So Glenda Morris says, I lost my dog. She was 17 years old and my heart is broken. Do you think animals go to heaven? Of course.
My dog is 17 years of age and in heaven. Yeah. And she's probably, and we want to call heaven, right around you. So she hears everything you say. She might be on your lap, or she'll probably go to the same places she used to go to. Maisie comes to my floor here often. She's busy now. My dog Maisie, she was a white Jack Russell Terrier mix and a Dachshund white Jack Russell. And it was so interesting because she used to hang out right by the desk and do the show here. And after she passed away, and of course, I understand you're going through that grief. It's a hard grief because it's unconditional love. My friend Jordy in Ohio said, "Yeah, well, Maisie's been around. Maisie's been busy." I said, "You think so?" She goes, "Oh, I know so." I said, "Yeah, I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks." And she goes, "Oh no, a girl here in Lima, Ohio, was in a coma at 4 years of age, and she woke up. They got her out of the coma. She came out and said, oh, how'd you do?" She goes, "Oh, this lovely white and black dog named AZ helped me."
Oh my gosh. Oh, James, that's something.
It's like the black and white ear. It's like,
wow. Well, she's busy working.
She's busy working. I knew she had work. I knew she left here because she had to go to work. I knew it.
Right. Okay, this is from HS88. How can I have a visitation with my guides via my dreams? And more importantly, how do I remember them?
Okay. Well, part of the exercise, which I'll give you right now, it's a simple exercise, and you don't have to do it right now, but this is the exercise. It's if you want to do it right before bed, that's fine. You can do it in a relaxed state, and really start it with the breath. So you're going to breathe in through your nose at a count of 3, if you will, and then out through your mouth. There's 2 counts more to 5, in 3 or 5, and just bring yourself to a lovely state, of relaxation. At which point, what I'd love you to do, everybody, is to visualize yourself, and you're going to visualize yourself in a room. And this room could be made a simple room, square room with silk drapery, perhaps, something that represents you and let's say your spiritual self. And this is your meeting point. It's a meeting point. And in front of you, there's a chair there. And at that chair, as you sit there, you ask a guide to appear. and you're going to do it from your heart, not your head. Okay, when you listen to your heart, and may I once you present yourself to me, whoever that is, and the curtains will open, and that guy will sit in front of you, and you can ask them questions and interview them like a newscaster, and you can write down everything they say to you, and that works for that works. It works. So you'll find it that way. It's a good.
Is that the meeting room?
That's the meeting room.
Okay, so everybody, if
That's
you
the
have
meeting.
wisdom from the guides,
The
it
meeting.
is in the meeting room. And James, I had a session the other day with a young man who said he did that, and he said it changed his life. That exact meditation.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a and
It's
again,
a really good one.
and your intention is your compass, right? And if you have a compass, and as Jack Kornfield calls it, your compass, and that intention that you set your compass, and you'll get there. If you know your intention, you have to set your compass. So the thing, the most important thing is to let things. We did this today in the meditation course we were filming earlier. You can't control it; just let it be. Let it flow. So if you try to control who's my guide, you can't do it that way. It's like when you get a reading, you got to just be open to the experience. As I love this Buddhist saying, the Buddhists say, you can't push the river. You got to let it flow. And it's true. You just got to let it be. And if you let it be and just experience what you're going to experience and not be in charge of it, let it happen. It'll happen.
So January Willers Definicent says, do our spirit guides allow us to go through the trials in our lives to better shape who we are? Or
Yes.
is it that we are just ignoring the signs to help avoid the trials?
Oh, I think that a lot of souls don't want to wake up. I think a lot of souls are fearful of what they see, and a lot of souls don't want to open up or feel very vulnerable, right? Because they don't feel safe and they want to be in control, and they're afraid of what they're going to see. It's the unknown. They're afraid of the unknown, and that's not a good way to be. That's not a way to grow. You are here. The first part of that was right. Here to shape your life and to be better and express yourself, expand your awareness, open up your minds to different ways of being. There's so much out there.
Oh, totally.
But are closed-minded. It's like, oh wow.
So Abby Matassa says, how do our guides help us heal from past trauma? I mean, my thought of that is that they will guide you to a good therapist or guide you to somebody to get some help with it, with past trauma.
Help you to help yourself.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
have to be very careful that we don't throw the responsibility onto somebody else.
Absolutely.
And there's no spiritual bypass here. You've got to
None.
But you have got to go into that trauma therapist. You've got to be willing to open yourself up, to be vulnerable, and go through that soul experience. It doesn't hurt. It's to discover new things about yourself. I mean, love is who you are, and the human puts all these little labels and emotions. You're just love, but we just want to. I don't know. We just want to be victims. We just want to suffer. What's that saying again, Kelly?
Loyalty to your suffering.
Loyalty to your suffering.
So true.
It becomes a thing. It really
does. It does. It does.
Live that way. That you're not living. You're not living your full life that way. You're living in as like Artoli says, the pain body, and the pain body becomes real, and then you get the victimization. Because we've got to be willing down here to grow and to take chances and jump in when you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I said this before, and I'll say it again. I quit a corporate job with a lot of money, a lot of management skills and insurance, and the whole thing, to mediumship where I didn't know a person, a soul, how I was going to get paid. And Spirit said, we'll take care of you. If your intention is there, we will take care of you. And it was. And here we are. So we all have that opportunity to jump in. And sometimes we just got to realize we're going to be just fine.
Yes.
We made it thus far. And you're not doing wrong. And sometimes the unknown is the most fun thing you can find. It's like, wow, let's see what's going to happen. The art of discovery. Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Ooh, it's going to be fun.
And it is. And it's a real circus. It's a real Ferris wheel. It's a real ups and downs all around. That's the human condition. That's the human school. The ups and downs all around. That's part of it. And how we handle those circumstances is part of it. And not to blame others or judge others, but take responsibility for our choices that we make. And we'll replace ourselves.
So true.
Right?
So Julie Munsterman says, is it common to have a saint as your guide? Could you tell me why a martyred saint might be my guide?
What do you think, Kelly?
Well, I did not grow up Catholic. However, I have, when I've done readings, felt certain saints that I know nothing about around somebody. So do they take on a whole group and groups and groups and groups of people? Probably.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic, and I read a book of saints. And throughout my life, I loved Joan of Arc.
Me too, James. We've never had that conversation. Me too.
Joan of Arc is my gal, and
Me too.
I mean, I lived maybe then, but I knew her when I was reading this book on her life. Like, that didn't happen that way, and this happened this way, and I really related. I could resonate with her. So whether I lived there, I do. Now saints, I don't know. We again with saints, it's the human being putting that on someone else. So it's like, so that to me, it's like celebrities, right? So we place all this stuff on celebrities, like Elvis Presley or whoever, and they're not that way. Like Marilyn Monroe's come through me and reading. She said, I wish the Earth people, would pay homage to themselves instead of us. I'm not that, but they place on us, and we know that they're just souls. Lucille Ball came to me once, and I was in a rose garden I created in Laguna Beach, and I didn't know her, but I loved the comedy, and she came to me. It's very simple. Very simple way. And she said, I understand you've been reading a book about me. I said, yeah. And she goes, I didn't come here to, I didn't, people make so much more, but I just came to heal people through comedy.
Oh.
I did do a reading for Audrey Meadows. And I helped Audrey Meadows write a book about the honeymooners. And she was a regular client of mine, Audrey.
Wow.
Audrey passed. And it was fabulous. And I had some great experiences with Audrey. And since she passed on the side, she came back to me in a dream. And she, it was really interesting. It was a very interesting time. A dream where there was a dais and on the stage, and there was a theater, and I was in the back row, and they were honoring her. And this is probably a year after she passed, 2 years after she passed. And she stood up, and she was thanking everybody, and she looked right at me, and she thanked me that way. I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah.
She was a very evolved being too down here. I told her, I said, you're gonna have cancer. Your lungs are filling up. And she goes, yeah, I understand that. She goes, but that's all right, James. I want to be with Bob. I said, okay. I said, but she goes, will you be with me when I'm passing? I said, I'll try to. And to make a long story short, I went. A friend of mine said, did you know that Audrey's in the hospital? I hadn't talked to her for several months. And I said, really? Cedar Sinai in LA. Did I ever tell you the story, Kellee?
No, tell me.
Great story. It's a good one. It's in the, I don't know if it's in a book or not. Anyway, it was right before Talking to Heaven. I was going to go to New York to try to sell Talking to Heaven back in 1997. And it was February, very cold. So I went to Cedar Sinai. I lived several blocks from there. And I walked around the information desk and I said, can I see Audrey 6th? What's her room? And they said, oh, we don't have anyone like that here. And I'm thinking, oh, of course, she's a celebrity, whatever, in Hollywood. And as if in a trance, a guide probably guided me to the elevator across the street. I pressed floor number 6. I went up, walked to the right, around, down to the end of that hallway, and there was a nurse's station. And I said, is Audrey 6 here? And they said, who? I said, Audrey 6, is this a cancer ward? They go, yeah, well, yeah. No, the cancer ward is upstairs, 7th floor. I said, oh, there's Audrey 6. Okay. And I walked down to go back to the elevator, and I heard the nurse say, wait a minute, come back here. That's a strange name. Let me look. Oh, she's a 601 right here. Okay. So, right. So I go in, and it's a Filipino nurse. And she made sure that she goes, who are you? And I said, I'm her spiritual counselor. And she needs to speak with me. She goes, 5 minutes. So Audrey's in a coma, and you head to the side, and I sat next to her. I held her hand, and they hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said, Audrey, it's James in Prague. You remember me, Audrey? And the time has come. And Bob is here, and Jack is here, and Mom and Dad. And I said, it's so great that you're going to go home now, and you enjoy every part of it. And that was it. And I cried, and I got up and left, and the nurse came in and said, thank you. I turned around. Audrey was smiling. Okay? Audrey was smiling.
Oh, my gosh.
Go to at night to sell Talking to Heaven. I get it to JFK. It's like, I don't know, 14 degrees. It's freezing. I get in a taxi cab, and WINS News comes on. And I hear, honeymooner Audrey Meadows passed away last night. I'm like, and I'm tired because of the red eye. So I get to a hotel in Midtown Manhattan, and it was 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's freezing. I go in, and there's a lobby, and there's a homeless person who walks right up to me and said, shame about the honeymooner lady, isn't it? Gets better. I went to the bed to sleep for a couple hours before my first meeting at a publisher up on 6th Avenue. And I was a little bit late. I got up at 9:30, it means 10 o'clock. It was icy and snowy. And I'm running down 6th Avenue. And I get to a red light, and I look around, and they had a statue of Jackie Gleason in the window.
Oh.
And that was, and I sold Talking to Heaven that day to a publisher.
Oh, my goodness. Do you think she helped you?
I don't know if she did or not. I think the spirit world is planning on this many, many years.
Yeah.
Before it started, but it was just validation.
Totally.
And it was a thank you. I think again, there is no such thing as time, but there's an appreciation, and I've had it from my friends that have passed over, my spiritual friends who were blown away, including Mavis Patilla, who passed over, who's done this work, and they come and say, "There's such gratitude." On the other side, there's such gracefulness and gratitude, and there's an awe-inspiring experience, where they described it, and I believe there has to be, and they would never come back here in a second. That over. I'm sure you have.
No, done.
They're done, and then we prepare for future lifetimes.
Right.
Not just in this school, but there are other schools, other galaxies, millions of star systems out there.
Right. Oh yeah, we talk about that a lot. So here's a good question. Maria Carp Diem says, "Do we become a spirit guide at some point?"
Whether we're on the physical earth here, like we are spirit guides, all of us are, right? I think we are, and so I think your life experience. I'm sure I think so. They're walking guides among us. Yeah, they're walking.
Oh, absolutely. And also, we may be working here to become a guide once.
In my book, Earth Guides, you meet people in your life on Earth who help you in your way. Connie Leaf, my very first book I'm going to have is dedicated to her. She was kind of my adopted mom, and she believed in me. She taught me about believing in myself, and she said, "You're a very special person." This was I was 7 years old, and she took me under her wing and just guided me. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today because she really believed in me. Yeah, so we all have those Earth Guides that push us a little bit or help us a little bit here and there that I think are meant to be on our path. That's part of a destiny point we have.
Oh, absolutely, James. So tell us, James, I know you have a life coaching certification course.
I have a life coaching certification course. Registration is open now. It's a very, very popular course and helps people in life with tools and ways of dealing with certain situations. And it's a very in-depth course, and it's open now for registration. It's only open at certain times. Like 2 years ago was the only time, because it's a really intense course. So that is on vanpark.com, School of Mystical Arts. That's open right now. It's an incredible course, and you can read about it if you'd like to on school. And then the other thing I have going on is, Kelly, you know this. I'm going to Alaska. So come celebrate, because when Kelly and I were on, we took this last week, I'm like, oh my God, that's my birthday week. So I'm turning 65.
It's going to be so much fun.
We celebrate my 65th birthday on the Alaskan cruise.
Yes.
And
oh my gosh.
Party on the ship. So you'll film it. And these ladies might be doing the documentary of my life.
Oh, how fabulous!
Cruise, actually.
oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. It's going to be, in fact, and next week we have a guest coming on our show next week, which is amazing. I can't wait to see. Her name is Christine Kistelou, and she's amazing, and she's an expert on all things cruising and Alaska cruises, and knows our ship inside and out. So this is going to be really fun. So next week, make sure you join us for our show, because Christine is going to be a very dynamic, powerful speaker. And all the questions you have of any fears or any questions about cruising, she's your gal. She knows everything about cruising.
Yeah. And what do you have going on, Kelly?
I have a class coming up.
Narcissistic show, which was
I've got the narcissistic show coming up, the event, and that's in February 25th. But I have my third and final part 3 of Lemuria and Atlantis, and it's about bringing our gifts to the world. So during that period of time, during Lemuria and during Atlantis, we all had special gifts, and we're going to be bringing them out to the world now.
What happened to the civilization?
Well, we're going to be talking about what happened. I mean, I feel
and Atlantis, similar breakdowns.
Similar breakdowns. Yeah. I mean, the consciousness shifted, at that period. I mean, at one point especially during Lemuria, it was a very, we talk about being one, James. It was one. The universe was really one. And after this, it wasn't. It got very intense. It was very intense. So we're going to be talking about the end of times with that.
A special guest, a healer from Brazil.
Yeah, I've got Prajna Avalon. So that's our third part 3. And if you haven't taken part 3, it's okay, because we're going to, catch you up during part 3 about 1 and 2.
Part 2, yeah.
Yeah. But also you can also find that on my website, part 1 and 2. So, but please join us. That's on January 28th.
Yes, and that we have a friend. Renee is not here tonight. We have Ryan Brown helping us produce this. So thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. That was great. And Ryan, by the way, made our cartoons.
Ryan is the artist that made the cartoon. Yes, that's right. And he also self-care. He's a very talented individual, and he helps me with my Instagram and and TikTok. And yes, he's a wonderful Pisces person.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And I know you're going to be working on your meditation course
Yes,
with Kellee right now.
Kellee Kellee is an incredible in-depth teacher, and she's been helping me developing this course and writing this course. And it's interesting talking all day about meditation. And I just got to slow down. I'm just like, so the first day is a little rough, a little clunky. Yeah. Right?
It'll get better once Mercury goes direct. Everything will get better.
Okay. Because so it's going to be
a few more days.
Yeah, it'll be a great course. So we're working on it. And these ladies are filming your next. What's it called? They're filming.
This is you.
It's called Rescued Hearts Film. So.
And what is it about?
Demystifying the healing power of horses.
I mean, come on.
So
how great is that?
We're excited about it. We're in the early stages, but we're doing some filming out here, and it's remarkable. And we actually already have a website up. So if you check out rescuedheartsfilm.com, you can see a little bit of how we're getting going. But
and you also mentioned for Love Heals, you looking for sponsors, or you want some?
Yeah, so we got some huge news that our film Love Heals is going on PBS this year. So we are thrilled.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, it will get this healing message out to millions of people. So we are looking for sponsors, the brought to you by. So there's sponsorship available to just partner with us on the journey of getting this out to the world. So we are looking for people to come on that journey with us and help out with some sponsorships. Yeah.
So check out the screening too.
Yeah,
where do they go for the screening? Where do they do that? Loveheals.com?
Yeah, it's lovehealsfilm.com. And if anybody reaches out to us over Instagram, Facebook, or the website, it comes directly to me, Dana. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
You'd be sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that.
Yeah, that's on Thursdays. You should watch.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's so great to see you. I'm so glad you guys were here. It's so nice to meet you, Kellee, too. It's really great to see all of you.
Thank you, Kellee.
We'll see everybody next week.
Next week.
A great show next week. Take care.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kellee Show.